In this exercise, you'll attach several drawings to one drawing. By attaching drawings, you can annotate multiple large objects in a single compact drawing. Detailed labeling is usually one of the last steps in the design process. In Autodesk Civil 3D, you don't have to annotate objects in the drawings in which they reside. You can create a single drawing with an external reference, or commonly referred to as xrefs, to the object drawings. This process enables you to keep your annotation drawing size to a minimum while maintaining the benefit of dynamic label updates. So let's go about attaching drawings as xrefs for annotation. Using your Windows Explorer, navigate to the Tutorial Drawings folder. We have a shortcut to that right here. Double-click on Civil Tutorials. Then go into your drawing folder. Scroll down until you reach the Labels portion. Select all of the drawings that have labels beginning in their file name. Go ahead and right-click and select Copy. Now, double-click on your shortcut to your My Civil Tutorial folder. Then paste these drawings by right-clicking and selecting Paste. In a later exercise, you'll modify some of the externally referenced drawings. To make the modifications, the drawings must be in a location to which you have write access. Go ahead and open up your Labels-1A drawing, which you saved in the My Civil 3D Tutorial Data folder in Step 2. In the Tool space, go ahead and open up your Prospector tab. Although a surface with an outside boundary is displayed in the drawing window, notice that the Surfaces collection is empty. The Surfaces collection is empty because the composite surface is an external reference, or xref. The surface data, which is quite large, exists in a separate drawing. In large projects that have multiple surfaces, each surface object should reside in its own drawing. For example, the existing ground surface should exist in one drawing, with other drawings containing data references to it. For example, the proposed ground surface should exist in its own drawing with a data reference to the existing ground surface. In the command line, go ahead and type in xref. In the External References dialog box, notice the difference between the open drawing size and the externally referenced drawing size. The size of the current drawing is a fraction of the surface drawing. Using xrefs, you can use data from another drawing without actually inserting the data. In the External References palette, click this downward arrow right here. Now we want to attach a drawing. Next, navigate to your My Civil Tutorial Data folder. Now hold down your Control key and select Labels-Alignments and Labels-Parcels. We're going to go ahead and open these two drawings. In the External Reference dialog box, make sure that the following settings are selected. The reference type will be Attachment. This setting specifies that xrefs remain with the current host drawing, which is the Labels-1A drawing, if the current drawing is attached as an xref to another drawing. If the overlay is selected, xrefs that exist in the drawing are ignored if the drawing is attached to another drawing as an xref. We want to keep the path type at Relative. This setting specifies that if you move the current and reference drawings to another location, the references are less likely to be lost. Now note, before creating an xref, make sure that the reference drawings are saved in the same directory as the current drawing. Attached xrefs must have the following settings. If the insertion point, scale, or rotation is different from the current drawing, the Civil 3D labels will not work. Go ahead and click OK. Now you can see that the alignments and parcels appear in the drawing window. and the drawings in which they reside are listed in the External References palette. Go ahead and close this palette. Note that when you attach xrefs, a message may be displayed at the status bar indicating that there are unreconciled layers. You can find more information about this in later tutorials. So that's how you go about attaching drawings as xrefs for annotation in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you will learn how to locate annotation tools on the ribbon tabs. This exercise continues from attaching drawings as xrefs for annotation. So let's examine the Annotate tab. Note that this exercise uses the Labels-1A drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. Now the Annotate tab contains both Civil 3D and AutoCAD annotation tools. Go ahead and click the Labels and Tables panel. Notice that the menu consists of label and table commands for the Autodesk Civil 3D features. You can access the label or table commands for each feature directly from this menu. Go ahead and hit Escape. Now, click Add Labels. In the Add Labels dialog box, you can select the feature, label type, and label style. This dialog box enables you to easily switch these settings as needed while annotating your drawing. You'll use this dialog box throughout the labels tutorials. Go ahead and click Close. Next, we'll examine the Object tabs. Go ahead and click the Modify tab, and then under Ground Data, select Surface. Now, under the Labels and Tables panel, go ahead and select the Add Labels drop-down. Notice that this menu consists of label and table commands for surfaces only. Each Object tab contains an object-specific list of label and table commands. So that's how you go about exploring the annotation tools on the ribbon in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you'll use label sets to apply several types of labels to an alignment. You can automatically add labels as you create objects, such as points, alignments, or parcels. Labeling an object automatically is an efficient way to annotate common elements, such as alignment stations or parcel areas, as they're created. In this exercise, you will specify a label set to apply as you create an alignment from a polyline. Both the newly created alignment and its labels will reside in the current drawing. Next, you'll learn how to modify the properties of the label set after the alignment has been created. Finally, you'll learn how to apply a label set to an alignment that exists in an externally referenced drawing. So let's go about creating a label set for a new alignment. Note that this exercise uses the Labels-1A drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. Or you can open the Labels-2A drawing in your Tutorials folder. Let's start by clicking the Home tab and then go to your Create Design panel. Select the Alignment drop-down and select Create Alignments from Objects. On the command line, enter in X to select the xref option. Click the blue polyline that's off to the west. Then hit Enter twice. In the Create Alignments from Objects dialog box, go ahead and enter in a name. We're going to call this West Street. For the alignment style, make sure that it's on Proposed. Go ahead and examine the contents of the alignment label set. When you create an object, its Create dialog box typically has style selector lists for both the object and the labels. The style selector lists identify the object styles and label styles that are available in the current drawing for that object type. When you create an alignment, profile, or section, you select a label set, which applies a preset style to each of the various label types that are in the set. You'll examine an example of a label set in the following steps. Notice that there is a No Labels selection. This selection is an empty label set, as you can see right here. This empty label set does not display any labels along the alignment. Note, if you don't want to annotate objects that do not use label sets, you can create a label style that has the visibility of all of its components turned off. In the Alignment Label Set dialog box, click the drop down and select Major, Minor, and Geometry Points. Click this downward arrow and select Copy Current Selection. The Alignment Label Set dialog box displays information about how the Major, Minor, and Geometry Points label set is configured. You'll use this label set as the basis to create a new label set. The Information tab displays the label set name, description, and the date when it was created or modified. The Labels tab specifies the label types that are defined in the label set, as well as the label styles that are used by each type. In this example, you use the label set to apply label styles to the geometry points and major and minor stations of an alignment. Note, label sets for profiles and sections are constructed in the same manner using a similar dialog box. Go ahead and go back into your Information tab. And for the name, enter in major-minor stations and start-end points. Go ahead and click the Labels tab. In the Geometry Points row, click this button in the Style column. Select the Alignment Start label style and click OK. Now click this button in the Geometry Points to Label column. We're going to go ahead and clear all of our checkboxes, but we're going to select the Alignment Beginning box, then click OK. You can use geometry point label types to label a selection of geometry points using a combination of styles that you specify. In steps 8 and 9, you applied a geometry point label style to the alignment starting station. In the following steps, you'll create another instance of the geometry points label type that applies a different style to the alignment ending station. Note, to remove a label type from the label set, select the type, then select the red X button. In the Alignment Label Set dialog box, on the Labels tab, specify the following parameters. Under Type, select the drop-down, then select Geometry Points. Now for the Geometry Point label style, we're going to select Alignment End. Then go ahead and click the Add button. In the Geometry Points dialog box, we're going to clear out all of our checkboxes, and then we're going to select the Alignment End. Go ahead and click OK. Now go ahead and click OK again, and then under Conversion Options, we want to make sure that we're adding curves between tangents. So make sure that that checkbox is checked. Then go ahead and click OK. Go ahead and zoom into the area surrounding the new alignment, and you'll see all of our brand new labels that were automatically placed along the alignment. Now note that if station 243 is adjacent to the intersecting alignment, Select your alignment. Then in your contextual menu, click the Modify drop-down and select Reverse Direction. When the alignment is created, it's created in green. The green color is controlled by the alignment style that you specified in Step 3. Notice that the new red labels are brighter than the labels that were brought in with the externally referenced objects. The color tones are different so that you can easily identify where the labels reside. Bright labels are in the current drawing, and the light labels are in the externally referenced drawings. You'll also note that warning symbols are created in the drawing to indicate where tangency has been violated. For more information, see to check for tangency between alignment entities. Let's modify the label set of an existing alignment. Now note changes that you make to the alignment label set after the alignment has been created will not be applied to the original label set. To edit the original label set, go to your tool space, click on the Settings tab, expand Alignment, and then Label Styles. After that, expand Label Sets. Right-click the appropriate label set and click Edit to edit the labels. In the drawing, select the West Street alignment. Right-click and select Edit Alignment Labels. In the Alignment Labels dialog box, specify the following parameters. Under Type, select Geometry Points. Then for Geometry Point Label Style, we're going to leave it on perpendicular with tick and line. Go ahead and click Add. We're going to go ahead and clear all of the checkboxes. Then select the following checkboxes: Tangent, Tangent, Intersect, Tangent, Curve, Intersect, and Curve, Tangent, Intersect. Then click OK. Then we can go ahead and click OK for all of our dialog boxes. Press Escape to deselect the alignment. And there you have it, an alignment with a modified label set. Now let's go about adding labels to an alignment in a reference drawing. Click the Annotate tab. Look into the Labels and Tables panel. Click the drop down for Add Labels, and then go under Alignment and select Add/Edit Station Labels. Next, click on the Main Street alignment, which is the longest alignment within the middle of the site. Because this alignment exists in an externally referenced drawing, the table in the Alignment Labels dialog box is empty, as you can see right here. Only labels that are created in the current drawing can be modified in the current drawing. Labels that were created in an externally referenced drawing must be modified in the source drawing. Within our dialog box, under Type, go ahead and select Geometry Points. We're going to leave our Geometry Point label style at its default. Then click Add. Note that the Import Label Set button applies a label set that exists in the current drawing. In the Geometry Points dialog box, go ahead and click OK. In the Alignment Labels dialog box, specify the following parameters. For Type, we're going to specify Design Speeds. And then we're going to leave the Design Speed label style at its default. Then click Add. Now, go ahead and click OK. On the Main Street alignment, labels, as you can see right here, are displayed at each station, which a new design speed, as you can see right here, is applied. And at each geometry point, these label objects reside in the current drawing and annotate the alignment in the externally referenced drawing. So that's how you go about adding labels in groups in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you'll add labels to specific areas on an alignment after it's been created and automatically labeled. This exercise continues from adding labels in groups. So let's start labeling multiple alignment segments. Note this exercise uses the labels-2A drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. Let's start by clicking on the Annotate tab and then move over to your Labels and Tables panel. Click this little drop down right here, then go to Alignment, then Add Alignment Labels. In the Add Labels dialog box, specify the following parameters. For the feature, we're going to leave it on Alignment. For the label type, we're going to select Multiple Segment. Now we have 3 label style fields. We're going to go ahead and accept the defaults. You can choose specific styles for each of the line, curve, and spiral label styles, but this alignment does not contain any spirals, so the spiral label style setting is ignored. Go ahead and click Add. I'm going to move this dialog box off to the side. Then on the left hand side of the site we have our West Street alignment, which you created in the Adding Labels in Groups exercise. Go ahead and click the West Street alignment. The multiple segment label command places a label in the middle, as you can see right in here, of each line and curve. This method can be convenient, but as you can see, sometimes a few of the labels overlap other features of the drawing. In the Selecting and Moving Labels exercise, you'll move some of these labels. Let's go about labeling single alignment segments. Go ahead and go up to your Annotate tab, then click on the Add Labels button. Now that we're in the Add Labels dialog box, specify the following parameters. For feature, go ahead and select alignment. For label type, select single segment. Lastly, for the line and label style, select alignment name. Go ahead and click Add. You're now ready to choose a specific location for a label on the alignment. Unlike multiple segment labels, single segment labels are placed exactly where you click. Go ahead and zoom into your West Street alignment, right around the 120 station. Go ahead and click on the alignment near this station. Be sure to select the line segment and not the station label. Because you clicked Align Segment, the label style specified in the Line Label Style list in the Add Labels dialog box was used. If you had clicked on a curve right over here, the label style would have inherited the curve label style. On the Main Street alignment, which is the long alignment in the middle of the site, go ahead and click on the stations between 140 and 160. On the East Street alignment, which is the alignment with the cul-de-sac at the right-hand side of the site, click a location between stations 200 and 220. In the Add Labels dialog box, in the Line Label Style list, select Bearing over Distance. Go ahead and click Add. On the Main Street alignment, click on the alignment between the 120 and the 100. A new label displaying the bearing and distance information is created. Let's examine label settings for other objects. In the Add Labels dialog box, under Feature, go ahead and select Parcel. This selection changes the label type and style selections that are available. The Add Labels dialog box works in the same manner for all of the feature types shown in the feature list. When you annotate objects in Autodesk Civil 3D, you can switch the type of object you're labeling, as well as the label type and style of the various elements as needed. Pay attention to the command line as you annotate objects. Some label types such as span, slope, grade, and depth annotate a range of data between 2 points. For example, if you want to label a grade or depth between 2 points, you must specify those points in the drawing. In the Add Labels dialog box, go ahead and click Close. So that's how you go about manually labeling an object in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you'll select labels and change their location in the drawing. Your drawing currently contains many labels, as you can see right here, and some of them overlap each other. You'll move them in the following steps. Some label types, such as alignment stations and geometry point labels, are part of a label type group that shares properties. When you click one label in the group, the entire group is selected. Properties for the group are controlled using the AutoCAD Properties palette, which is available when you select the group. You can select the group and then change the properties of all the labels in the group simultaneously, as you can see right here. Let's go ahead and bring that style back to its default. Alternatively, you can hold down the Control key and select an individual label to change the label properties individually. Other label types, such as segment labels, are not part of a group, as you can see here. Each of these labels is treated as an individual object. Labels are distinct objects that are independent of the parent object that they annotate. Labels are dynamically linked to their parent object and automatically update when the parent object changes. However, labels reside on a separate layer and are not selected when you select the parent object. If a label resides on an externally referenced drawing, the label cannot be edited in the current drawing. Note that point, parcel area, corridor, and surface watershed labels are not label objects. They are sub-entities of a parent object, and their properties are managed in the Label Properties dialog box. This exercise continues from manually labeling objects. So let's start by selecting labels in a drawing. Note this exercise uses the Labels-2A drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. Or you can open the Labels-2B drawing from the Tutorials folder. Make sure you're zoomed in into the area around the West Street label on the alignment on the left-hand side of the site. Go ahead and select the alignment. Notice that the alignment is highlighted and the grips appear along the alignment. The alignment labels, however, are not highlighted. In previous versions of Autodesk Civil 3D, labels were sub-entities of their parent object. Now, most Autodesk Civil 3D labels are independent objects that reside on their own layer. Although they are independent objects, labels are dynamically linked to their parent object and automatically update to reflect the changes in the parent object. Go ahead and press Escape to deselect the alignment. On the road alignment, select one of the station labels. Notice that all the other station labels along the alignment are now highlighted. Press Escape to deselect the station labels. Now click one of the curve labels. Notice that while the curve label is selected, the other curve labels are not. These are two distinct label object types. Label type groups are when you select a label that is part of a label type group, such as an alignment station label. which is what we did before, you'll notice that the entire group is selected. If you select a label type group and use the right-click menu to update the label properties, the properties of every label in the group will update. To select a single label within a label type group, use the control-click method. Single label objects are when you select a single label object, such as an alignment curve label, which is what we did before. Only that label object is selected. You can change the properties, including the label style and single label objects, without affecting the other labels of the parent object. Go ahead and press Escape to deselect the curve label. Now let's go about moving labels in the drawing. Click the label showing the bearing and distance. Next, select this square little grip down at the bottom, and when you click on it, see how it turns red. Then, as you click and drag it, you can move it into a clear location. Go ahead and press Escape to deselect the label. See how a leader line is created from the label to the alignment. Click the West Street label and notice how we get similar grips. Click the diamond grip and notice again how the grip turns red. Drag the label to the right and click. Press Escape to deselect the label. Next, pan and zoom to the cul-de-sac area. Use the grips to drag the curve label away from the alignment. Click the EP station and click the grip. The grip turns red. Drag the label up and to the right to move it to a clear location. A leader line is created from the label to the alignment. Notice that the label displays without a border. The border is hidden because the drag state of the label style specified a different format for when the label is dragged to a new location. You'll learn more about label style settings in the Working with Label Styles tutorials. Note you can reset a selected label by clicking the circle grip. Press Escape and do the same with all the other labels. Next, let's select labels in an xref. Click one of the station labels on Main Street. Notice that both the Main Street and East Street alignments and their station labels are selected. The labels were selected because the labels were created in an externally referenced drawing in which the alignments reside. When an object has been created through an xref, you can edit its labels only in the source drawing. Press Escape to deselect the xref. So that's how you go about selecting and moving labels in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you'll use the standard AutoCAD tools to control properties for both individual labels and group labels. You can change the properties of an individual label object and a label object group. This exercise continues from selecting and moving labels. So let's examine label properties. Now note that this exercise uses the labels-2b drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. On the command line, go ahead and type in list. Then zoom into the West Street alignment and select the bearing and distance label. Then press enter. An AutoCAD text window appears displaying the object type, label type, and layer of the selected objects. Go ahead and escape out of this window. Let's go ahead and change the style of a single label. Zoom out a bit and click this curve label. Next, take a look at the properties, and then we're going to select a different curve label style. Click the little drop down menu right here, and we're going to select design data. Press escape to deselect a label. Now we're going to change the style of a group of labels. Click this station right here. You'll notice that all the stations are highlighted, indicating that they are part of a label group. Right-click and select Edit Alignment Labels. Note that selecting Edit Alignment Labels from the contextual menu opens the Alignment Labels dialog box, where you can change the alignment label set. Go ahead and escape out of this, and instead we're going to go to our properties again and select our drop down, then select perpendicular with tick. Go ahead and press escape. Lastly, we're going to flip a label to the opposite side of the alignment. Control-click this geometry point. In the Properties palette, go ahead and examine the properties. Under General, go ahead and select True under Flipped. Press Escape to deselect the label. So that's how you go about working with label properties in Civil 3D.
In this exercise, you'll draw the pipe network parts in a profile view. This exercise uses the pipe network and branch you created in the Changing Pipe Network Properties tutorial. So let's go about drawing the pipe network parts in profile view. Go ahead and open up your Pipe Networks -3 drawing, which is located in your tutorials folder. Now in the drawing window, go ahead and zoom in to your pipe network. Click a pipe to select it. Then right-click and select Draw Parts in Profile View. Then go ahead and zoom out to your profile view and select your profile view grid. And there you have our first pipe. Let's go ahead and do that again. We'll select this portion of pipe. Then we'll right-click again, draw parts in profile view, zoom out, and then select our profile view. You can select any of these pipes right here, but I'm just going to go ahead and press escape to deselect the pipe. Now we'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit and then select our profile view, right click, and select Profile View Properties. You'll see within the Profile View Properties dialog box we get an extra tab for our pipe networks. This tab only appears if we have drawn a portion of our pipe network within the profile view. So we have our full network within this tab. And we also have a draw column. And right now we have pipes 2 and 3 currently drawn within our profile view. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select all of these parts to be drawn within the profile view. So I'm going to check all of these boxes. And then I'm going to press apply. And then click OK. And you'll see how our grid adjusts for the height of each of our structures. However, in this profile view, I only want to show the pipes along our roadway. I don't want to show any of this pipe kind of going off in a different direction. And these pipes are pipe 10-1 and pipe 10. We can take a look at our structure numbers here as well. This is structure 12, and we've got our head wall, which is structure 11. I want to remove those from the profile view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the profile view, right click, go back into my properties. Now within pipe networks, I'm going to deselect these structures within the draw column so that they won't be drawn in my profile view. So I'm going to go to pipe 10. I'm going to check that box so it won't be drawn. Then 10-1, structure 11, and structure 12 won't be drawn within my profile view. Then click apply, then click OK. And you see how the profile adjusts accordingly. So that's how you go about drawing pipe network parts in a profile view in Civil 3D. In this exercise, you'll change the default abbreviations that appear in geometry point labels. This exercise continues from overriding label text. So let's go ahead and change the label content in the drawing settings. Note that this exercise uses the labels-3A drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise. Let's go ahead and zoom into West Street. We'll do that by going under our alignments and then clicking centerline alignments. And then we've got West Street right here. We're going to select West Street, right click, and select zoom to. So we've got all of West Street within our viewing area. Then we're going to focus in on the area right over here between station 0 and station 80. In the tool space, we're going to go to our settings tab. Then we're going to select our drawing name, right click, and select edit drawing settings. We get our drawing settings dialog box. Go ahead and click on the abbreviations tab. Now one thing to note before we get into the abbreviations is that with the Object Layers tab, you can change the default layer to any layer that you choose. And you can change it by clicking on the layer and choosing it and selecting OK. I'm going to cancel out of this. Let's go ahead and go back to our abbreviations tab. Now go down to the Alignment Geometry Point Text category. And this category shows all the abbreviations currently used for the geometry point. Within the value column, I'm going to go down until I get to Alignment End. I'm going to change this abbreviation to say End. Then press Enter. Next, I'm going to go to the Tangent, Curve, Intersect. I'm going to click on that cell, and I'm going to call this Tan Cur for Tangent Curve. Then I'm going to press Enter. After that, go to the Curve-Tangent Intersect. I'm going to select this. I'm going to type in Cur Tan. Then press Enter. After that, go ahead and click OK. Then if we zoom out a little bit here, you can see how these labels have been impacted. The geometry point labels update to reflect the change in the drawing settings. However, if the abbreviations in the geometry point labels have not updated to reflect the changes you made, go ahead and type in regen in the command line and then press enter. So that's how you go about changing label content in the drawing settings in Civil 3D. Alright, so just a little bit of an introduction. In this exercise, you'll create a table to display information about parcel objects. You'll use a similar workflow to create tables for most Autodesk Civil 3D objects. In this exercise, you'll learn about the table tools in Autodesk Civil 3D and the dynamic nature of externally referenced drawings. You'll add a parcel area table to an externally referenced drawing and then examine the results in the host drawing. To create a table for an object, the object must be labeled. Most tables require that you specify the table data by selecting a label style. In this exercise, you'll select parcel area labels to create a parcel area table. However, the parcel and area label exist in an externally referenced drawing. The parcel area tables cannot be created through an xref, so you cannot create the table in the current drawing. So let's go about applying a simpler parcel area label style. Alright, we'll be dealing with two separate CAD files. We'll have the labels-4A drawing open, as well as the labels-parcel open. Labels-parcels open. And as you can see right here, the labels-parcels file is actually xref'd into the labels-4A file. And you can see that right here. If we select this, you can see that this is xref'd. And you can see that in the name that it's the labels-parcels drawing right in here. You can also pull up the xref, XR for xref, and you can see your xrefs this way. We'll start by going into the labels-parcels drawing, and over here, right around this cul-de-sac area, we've got a bunch of parcels here. This is phase 1. We've got 37 through 41. This is what we're going to be focusing on. And these labels, we're going to assign a simpler label. And then after that, we're going to create a table that will display the parcel data. Okay, I'm going to deselect these. And I'm going to go into Tool Space. And then under the Prospector tab, I'm going to go to Sites, expand the site, and then we have parcels. I'm going to expand the parcels, and I'm going to go down to parcels 37 through 41. I'm going to shift click to 41, and then down at the bottom we get all of these. We get all of our parcels right here, 37 through 41. If we select all of these, shift click, and then you scroll off to the side where we have this area label style. You can go up at the top of our column, right click, select edit to edit all of them at once. We get our select label style dialog box. If we click this drop down, we can select parcel number, then click OK. Then that changes our label to a much simpler label style. Okay, then I'm going to press escape. After that, in the following steps, you'll create a table that displays detailed information about each of these parcels. So let's go about creating a parcel area table. Okay, go to your Annotate tab, and then click this Add Labels drop down. Then go into Parcel. Then go into Add Area. We get our parcel creation dialog box. Then we're going to focus our attention on this area right here. Select by label or style. In the parcel number row, we're going to click this box to apply. You can select multiple styles from which to create the parcel table. All the parcels that use the selected styles will be shown in the table. Then we're going to go ahead and click OK. So we get our table. Now we need to place it. We'll place it right over here. Well, let's add another table. Let's add, come on, add area. Instead of applying it to the parcel number, let's apply it to the name, area, and parameter. Let's do that. See what that does. Then click OK. Then we get something totally different. That captures parcel 48 and 54. What do we have for 48 and 54? Is this 48? Yep. I can see right here. This is parcel. You can see it in the properties. Parcel number 48. This has the area and parameter. Is it parameter? Perimeter? It has that style assigned to it. And we need to, where's 51? Is it 51 or 54? Oh, it's 54, I'm sorry. See right here, this label style shows area and parameter. And this is parcel number 54. So these two label styles are creating this table right here. Let's do it for another one. Parcel, add area. Let's go with this one, see what this does. Click OK. Now what we're going to do is, since the labels-parcel drawing is xref'd into the labels-4a drawing, if you remember, the labels are going to show up in the the tables are going to show up in the labels-4a drawing as soon as I save the parcels drawing. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and click the save button here. And then we'll get some notifications that that the xref has changed in the labels-4a drawing. See right here, we get a bubble that says an xref was modified. Reload the labels-parcels drawing. So I'll go ahead and do that. Click that link. And then we have our updates. Even our labels were updated right here. You can also update by typing in XR for xref, and you can reload the drawing by right-clicking and clicking reload. Or you can select the xref, right-click, and select reload. So there's lots of different ways of being able to accomplish the same thing. In this exercise, you'll create parcel segment labels directly in the current drawing. You'll then convert the segment labels to tags and create a table to display the detailed label information. So let's go ahead and label the parcel segments. This exercise uses the labels-4a drawing, which is located in your tutorials folder. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start off in the Annotate tab. We'll go into the Add Labels menu, Parcel, and then Add Parcel Labels. Move this off to the side here. We get our Add Labels dialog box. For the label type, we're going to switch that from single segment to multiple segment. For the line for the line label style, we're going to have it bearing over distance. So this is correct. And for the curve label style, we're going to have delta over length and radius. So we're good on that. Next, we're going to click on this button right here, Table Tag Numbering. Then we get our Table Tag Numbering dialog box. And we're going to examine the settings that are available. Okay, I've got a little read here. You can skip past this if you wish, but I'm going to go ahead and read it right here. It's the settings specify the starting number and increment for line, curve, and spiral tags. Notice that there are separate starting number and increment properties for both table tag creation and table tag renumbering. So right here we've got two separate categories here, table tag creation and table tag renumbering. For this exercise, accept the default value of 1 for all properties. When you convert the labels to table tags, they will all use a starting number and an increment of 1. You'll use the table tag renumbering properties later. So we'll go ahead and click cancel out of this. Now in the Add Labels dialog box, go ahead and click Add. And then we're going to zoom into, let me move this off to the side. We're going to zoom into 39, 40, 41, 37, and 38. So really all the parcels that have kind of like the circular numbering right here. So go ahead and select that. And then we're going to press Enter to accept the default clockwise label direction. Now as you click, the labels are placed on each parcel segment. If you wish, zoom in to inspect the labels before you convert them to tags. So we'll just go around here. We'll click the next one. Select Enter for clockwise. Do the same thing for 39. Enter. 40. Enter. And 41. Enter. So we've got all of our bearings and distances for all of our parcels. Now what we're going to do is, because they're so long, I mean you can see just based upon this area right in here that there's overlap. So what we want to do is we want to convert these into smaller tags, and then those tags will be linked up to a table. When you've finished labeling the parcels, go ahead and right click to end the command. And as you can see, the Add Labels dialog box remains open in case you want to label more parcels or other objects. You can close it, so you will not be able to, you won't be using this for the rest of the exercise. Now we're going to place the segment labels in a table. Go ahead and click on the Annotate tab, and then click on the Add Tables menu here, and then go into Parcel, and then Add Segment. This option creates a table that shows both the line and curve segments of the labeled parcels. Okay, we get our table creation dialog box here. We want to focus our attention in this area. Select by label or style. And what we want to do is we want to apply certain styles by checking these boxes over here. We want to look for parcel curve, delta over length and radius. So this is what we want right here. We want to apply this. And then for parcel line, bearing over distance. So that's right here. Then we want to click OK. Okay, we have our little table off to the side here. Okay, we're going to click this, maybe way up here. That works. So we get two tables right here. And what I'm going to do, just for simplicity, I'm going to type in viewports. I'm going to put in 2 vertical viewports, so I can see both my table and my parcels, just for clarity. And as you can see, all of our bearings and distances have been converted to tags, which correspond to the table. Let's zoom in here. We've got C1, here's C1, C2, C3, C4. So all of this stuff is listed in our table right here. Okay, in this exercise you will create a label style. In most cases, the easiest way to create a style is to find an existing style that is similar to the format that you want. Create a copy and then modify the copy. In the following steps, you'll create a design speed label style. You'll learn various ways to create and edit label styles using the Civil 3D tool space. So let's go ahead and create a label style. Note that this exercise uses the labels-4B drawing with the modifications you made in the previous exercise, or you can open up the labels-5A drawing, which is located in your tutorials folder. Now first off, we're going to zoom into station 0 of the Main Street alignment. Now which one is the Main Street alignment? Is it this one? I'm not sure. Could it be this one? This looks like West Street. This over here is East Street. So this main one right here is Main Street. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and select it, right click, and select Insert. Now if I want to, I can go ahead and select the alignment. Actually, before I do that, right now it's a block. I'm going to explode it by pressing X to explode. And now we have our alignment. And it's the Main Street alignment. So we're going to zoom into station 00, which is right here. Examine the design speed label. You'll use the label style as a basis to create a new label style that will display the design speed without the station label. The design speed labels will be placed at locations where the stations are already labeled. Note the design speed information, including the station at which the design speed has been applied, is available in the Alignment Properties dialog box on the Design Speeds tab. So we're going to select the design speed label. Right click and select Edit Alignment Labels. Okay, so I'm going to select the alignment, right click, and select Edit Alignment Labels. Okay, under Type, I'm going to select Design Speeds. Okay, next. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create new. Okay, we get our Label Style Composer dialog box. On the Information tab, we're going to specify the following parameters. For the name, we're going to call this Design Speeds dash inline. For description, we're going to say small design speed label perpendicular to the alignment. Then we're going to go to the General tab. On the General tab, you'll specify the settings for the overall label style, including the visibility, layer, and plan readability. For this exercise, accept the default settings on this tab. You can turn on or off the visibility of the individual label components on either the Summary or Layout tab. So we've got our Layout tab, and then we have a Summary, which encompasses really everything within these tabs right here. So it's kind of a long tab here, but we'll press on. Click the Layout tab. On the Layout tab, you specify the content of the label style. A label can be made up of one or more components, each of which can have separate properties. Okay, we're going to examine the contents of the component name list. So when I click this drop down, I have the option of station, design speed, and line. So we were just on station. Here's design speed. You can see that the contents have changed right here. If we hit line, then that changes. Go back to station. It says station right here in the contents. Okay, each component is shown in the preview pane on the right side of the dialog box. You can use the buttons to the right of the component name list to create, copy, or delete label style components. So, which means this stuff right over here. These components were copied when you created the style from the existing station over speed style. That's from a previous exercise. In the component name list, select station. We're in there right now. In the general collection, change the visibility to false. So we're going to swap this out to false. You can see how that changed in our preview panel right here. So notice that your change is shown immediately in the preview pane. This pane is useful when you're designing a label style. If you don't like what you see in the preview, you can change it before saving the style. Note, to delete the station component, select it from the component name list and then click the X. So if we wanted to delete this station component completely, we just click this X right here. Delete component. In the component name list, select the design speed. Select that. Now we're going to specify the following parameters. Under General, the anchor component, we're going to keep that online. The anchor point, we're going to change this to end. See how that changes in the preview? For text, we're going to change the attachment to bottom right. See how that changes it? For the X offset, we're going to make that 0. For Y offset, we're going to change that to 1. In the text collection, for the contents property, we're going to click right here and select this button. You can use the text component editor dialog box to define the content and format of a label style text component. The properties list displays the available properties that can be displayed in a label component. When you select a component from the list, the applicable values are displayed in the table below. So we've got all this stuff right here. We can change the format here. Okay, in the text component editor dialog box in the preview pane, select the design text. So right here. Now we're going to delete this. Press the delete button. Actually, we're going to delete all of this. Just leave speed. Now we're going to select the design speed property block by clicking right here. It selects all of it right here. After you have selected the property block in the preview pane, you can modify the specific values that were applied to the property. In the properties list, select design speed. So we've got that selected right now. We're going to change the precision to 1 decimal place right here. Then to apply this, select this arrow right here. That applies it. And it shows the block in the preview pane. Now you'll notice, I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but there's a block of code that changed from PO to P1. Right here, go ahead and select the speed text, and then we're going to go into the Format tab. You can change the style, justification, font, and color of each text component. With the text in the preview pane selected, change the font to Times New Roman, then click OK. Font, where's Times? Times New Roman, right here. See how that changed in the preview? Then we're going to click OK. In the Label Style Composer, notice that the speed font is different from the design speed value. The design speed value font did not change because it was not selected when you changed the font. Go ahead and click OK to close the Label Style Composer, and then pick the Label Style and Alignment Labels dialog boxes. Okay, so we have all of this selected. We're going to add this to the Main Street alignment by clicking Add. Then click OK. Now you can see how a label right here was added. We scroll down. You can see how this was added. And here they all are for our speed, our design speed labels.